When I recall these events, I grow young again and feel once more the delights of youth, despite the long years which separate me from those happy times. But now that I'm getting into my dotage, I look on the dark side of everything.
Casanova has lived on his streets all his life, encouraging persons into debauchery, orgies, young girls, and married women, and extracting money from Senator Bragadin, stating that he was a nobleman, cheating and gambling, and being in contact with foreigners of the Republic of Venice, which is forbidden. He has practiced magic, the Kabbalah, and possibly the black arts. He is anti-religious. He said that those who believe in Christ are weak. He is greedy, gluttonous, a lecher, a crook. Oh, a manner to inspire horror in all decent citizens.
Shall we?
It is here, in the Duchov Palace, in the heartlands of Bohemia, that my employer has sent me in the hope of finding some exonerating evidence on the man known as Casanova. My employer recently came into possession of the Casanova Memoirs, but has come under intense pressure against their publication.
The position of the Church on these memoirs is clear. They are not suitable to print.
The more I read these letters, the more I understand the man, and am fascinated about his escape from the Venetian prison and his duel with Count Brunitsky.
The various adventures which, at the age of 72 years, impel me to write these memoirs.
These memoirs and letters are revealing another facet to the man, to put it delicately, a certain joie de vivre. It is this that is causing the Church's condemnation.
As yet, I have not had a chance to read them for myself. But it sounds as if these memoirs, in their entirety, just cannot be published. There are parts, I am sure, which are acceptable and will not cause offense. But as a collective, it's not a message, as I understand it, that we can be seen to be endorsing.
Is that your opinion? The pressure from the Church here.
Pressure from his conscience. And perhaps you might wish to examine your own, if you are willing to corrupt impressionable minds with this blasphemy.
Have you had, Your Grace, a chance to read the book?
I'm fully aware of the man and this book.
What is it disturbs you?
I could give you 50 reasons why. But what chiefly disturbs me is your willingness to celebrate a man who so blatantly disregarded the moral code set down by the Almighty Father.
I don't see any disregard for the moral codes set forth in those memoirs.
Maybe Your Grace would humor us, an audience, to explain why we should disregard publishing these memoirs.
Now, what are we saying here? He didn't exist, he didn't love, he didn't sin. He obviously didn't deny the existence of Christ. In fact, he begged for absolution in his death. Why is the house of Christ now suddenly denying him?
Well, so you tell me why. He was expelled from nearly every country he set foot in, when he could find no place left to call home. And why? When he was so detested in life, should we embrace him in death?
I'm not looking to embrace him. I want proof that he was alive.
No one's trying to deny that.
Why?
Why? Because I think the first key to any man's immortality is just to live a life worth remembering. That's why. And I cannot fathom why you hate him so much.
See, I cannot fathom why you like him so much.
I don't know. The Lord teaches me every day, Your Grace, to love thy neighbor.
I found many letters of remittance from Senator Bragadin. He was referred to many times in the memoirs. Casanova had saved his life when he found him having a stroke. He took him back to the senator's palace and bled him to relieve the pressure.
Taking everything upon myself, I ordered a servant to hurry out for a physician who came in a short time and ordered the patient to be bled again, thus approving the first bleeding prescribed by me. An hour later, 2 noblemen, friends of the senator, came in.
What happened? Oh, you were so informed. Were you there? Did you see what happened?
They were in despair. They had inquired about the accident from the gondoliers, and having been told that I knew more than they did, they loaded me with questions which I answered.
How did he get in such a position? Why is he there now? Why is he in such a bad way?
I don't know!
They did not know who I was and did not like to ask me, whilst I thought it better to preserve a modest silence. The patient did not move. His breathing alone showed that he was still alive. All visitors were sent away by my advice, and the 2 noblemen and myself were the only persons in the sick man's room.
Sir, if you have any other business, I suggest you go. We both shall attend the patient now on the mattress by his bed.
Sir, I will remain near his bed. If I went away, this patient will die, and he will live as long as I'm near him.
He admitted himself he took advantage of a weak old man.
So it's a sin to be rewarded for saving a man's life.
Whoever you may be, I am indebted to you for my life. Your first protectors wanted to make you a priest, a doctor, an advocate, a soldier, and ended making a fiddler of you. Those persons did not know you. God had evidently instructed your guardian angel to bring you to me. I know you and appreciate you. If you will be my son, you have only to acknowledge me for a father and for the future. Until my death, I will treat you as my own child. Your apartment is ready. You may send your clothes. You shall have a servant, a gondola at your orders, my own table, and 10 sequins a month. It is the sum I used to receive from my father when I was your age. You need not think of the future. Think only of enjoying yourself. Take me as your advisor in everything that may happen to you, in everything you may wish to undertake, and you may be certain of always finding me your friend. My son, my dear son.
Such is the history of my metamorphosis, and of the lucky stroke which, taking me from the vile profession of a fiddler, raised me to the rank of a grandee. Ah!
Casanova was a natural storyteller and had frequently retold his adventures to his host, Count Waldstein.
The chief business of my life has always been to indulge my senses. I have never known anything of greater importance. I felt born for the fair sex, and have ever loved it dearly, and been loved by it as often and as much as possible. Likewise, I've always had a weakness for good living, and I have felt excited and passionate about every object that has excited my curiosity.
Casanova made no attempt to hide his indiscretions. He reveled in his conquests, particularly that he lost his virginity to 2 sisters. Perhaps this is what scared the church so much. The idea of people leading a life according to their own desires, rather than religious morality.
I did read the memoirs, and he did prey on girls. What of Lucrezia? She was betrothed.
It is my angel, my love. Never mind him and go to sleep. Did you remark with what candour I secured for us 2 hours of delightful tête-à-tête, and a tête-à-tête and a vis-à-vis too? How clever love is.
Yes. Darling, love has made but one of our 2 souls. I adore you. And if I have the courage to pass so many days without seeing you, it is only to be rewarded by the freedom of one single day like this.
I did not think it possible, but you have managed it all very well. You know too much for your age, dearest.
A month ago, I was but an ignorant child. And you are the first woman who has initiated me into the mysteries of love. Your departure would kill me, for I could not find another woman like you in all Italy.
What? Am I your first love? Alas, you will never be cured of it. Oh, why am I not entirely your own? You are also the first true love of my heart, and you will be the last. How great will be the happiness of my successor. I should not be jealous of her, but what suffering would be mine if I thought that her heart was not like mine.
Sex in the 18th century was as natural as eating and drinking.
Natural for him to father illegitimate offspring.
Rumors.
Rumors? Perhaps. Strong enough to scare him out of the country.
Out of the country, but into the arms of another girl, from whom there were still many letters.
Good night, my darling. I am dying of sleep. My pen is falling from my hands. My eyes are closing. There are so many more things I would like to tell you.
Now it seems to me that these letters must be from Manon Belletti, and that they are the letters referred to in the 6th volume of the Memoirs. We read how on Christmas Day, 1759, Casanova receives a letter from Manon in Paris, announcing her marriage with Monsieur Blondel, architect to the king and member of his academy. She returns him his letters and begs him to return hers or burn them.
If you want to make me happy, you will burn these letters. I dream that you're telling me you love me.
When a woman yields to love, she should not be conquered before she has fought with her own desires. She should not give way to the first impulse of lustful desire and abandon herself to the first man who takes her fancy.
A pearl of wisdom from the maestro.
Unless, of course, the first one happens to be me.
My dear Giacomo, lover, husband, friend, whatever you want to be called, you must believe that I live you with my whole being. You represent my life. I can only love for you. No slander, gossip, or jealousy can in the least diminish the gentle feelings I have for you. It is with great impatience that I await the time when we shall be united. The time when I give myself to you shall mark the beginning of my life. The only thing I regret is that I am separated from that object which I adore more than myself. I would be happy to die in your arms, secure in the fact that you love me. I only regret that I cannot give you more.
After Casanova had finished with Manon Belletti, it appears he found his way into the heart of Justiniana Wynne. But this wasn't without complications.
I am pregnant. And I shall kill myself if I am found out. It is now 5 months. No one knows. And the very author of my misery has been kept in the dark. But I will not be able to deceive the world much longer. Save me, if it is still possible. And if you know how.
I will. I promise you I will.
You've never been with a woman you didn't love? Forgive me.
Did he ever
truly love any of the girls?
I believe so.
I was fortunate enough to find the set of letters which I was most anxious to find, the letters from Henriette. Henriette. Henriette, it will be remembered, makes her first appearance in Cesna in the year 1748. Casanova is so clearly enamored with her, and he offers her his carriage to continue their journey.
But my business was in reference to a carriage, for the one I had boasted of existed only in my imagination.
So what did you do?
I went to the most fashionable coffee house, and as good luck would have it, heard that there was a traveling carriage for sale, which no one would buy because it was too expensive. I, like a fool, bought it. Using somebody else's money, of course.
At least tell me, madam, whether the captain is your husband or your father.
Neither one nor the other.
Henriette could not open her lips without my discovering some fresh perfection, for her wit delighted me even more than her beauty, and it seemed evident to me that she would not be sorry to exchange her elderly lover for me. Something being the matter with the carriage, we stopped at Forlì to have it repaired. After a very cheerful supper, I retired to my room to go to bed, thinking of nothing else but that very charming woman by whom I was so completely captivated. On the journey, Henrietta struck me as so strange that I would not sleep in the second bed in their room, lest she should leave her old comrade and come to my bed to sleep with me. And I did not know how the worthy captain would take such a joke.
But didn't you want her?
Of course. I wanted to possess that lovely creature. But I wanted everything to be settled amicably, for I had a certain respect for the old brave officer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Captain.
I told the officer that I was deeply in love with Henriette, and I asked him whether he would object to my trying to obtain her as my mistress.
The reason for which she begs you to leave her in Parma and not to take any further notice of her must be that she hopes to meet some lover of hers there. Let me have half an hour's conversation with her, and I flatter myself I can convince her to sacrifice that lover for me. If she refuses me, I will remain here. You will go with her to Parma while you leave my carriage, only sending me the receipt so that I might collect it whenever I please.
As soon as breakfast is over, I shall go and visit the Institute and leave you alone with Henriette. I hope you may succeed. Should she persist in her first resolve, then I could easily find a vetturino here, and you could keep your carriage. I thank you for your proposal.
Thank you. Henriette, how would you like to see the sights of Bologna with me today?
I should like it very much.
Sooth to say, I fell at her feet, and lovingly pressing her knees, kissed them repeatedly with raptures of joy and gratitude. No more furore, no more bitter words. They do not suit the sweetest of all human emotions. Loving, docile, tender. I swear never to beg for anything, not even to kiss her hand, until I have shown myself worthy of her precious love. The heavenly creature delighted to see me pass so rapidly from despair to lively tenderness, whispers in a voice that breathes of love, to come up from my knees.
And?
Her emotion and charm, which seemed to flow from her lips to enforce conviction, made me shed tears of love and sympathy. I blended her tears with those falling from her beautiful eyes. I promised not to abandon her and to make her the sharer of my fate. I felt really disposed to make her happy. I could not believe that I inspired in her a very deep passion.
Am I not then always the same?
No. Heavenly creature. And it is so true that you are no longer the same in my eyes that I could now use any familiarity towards you.
Those that believe that a woman is incapable of keeping a man happy equally all the 24 hours have never known a woman such as Henriette. The joy that flooded my soul was far greater when I conversed with her during the day than when she lay in my arms at night. A beautiful woman without a mind of her own leaves a man with no resource after he has physically enjoyed her charms. An ugly woman of great intelligence will make him fall so deeply in love that she leaves him feeling no unsatisfied desires. So what must I have been? For Henriette was intelligent, beautiful, and cultured.
You are lucky indeed to have loved in that way.
It's impossible to describe the extent of my happiness.
But it would seem that even Casanova was susceptible to the pain of loss.
Age has calmed my passions by rendering them powerless. But my heart has not grown old. My memory has kept all the freshness of youth. No, I have not forgotten Henriette. For even now, when my head is covered with white hair, the recollection of her is still a source of happiness in my heart. What embitters my old age is that, having a heart as warm as ever, I have no longer the strength necessary to secure a single day as blissful as those which I owed to this charming girl.
But alas, it isn't to be, and it would seem that Casanova's first and only love has come to an end.
It is I, dearest and best friend, who have been compelled to abandon you. But do not let your grief be increased by any thought of my sorrow. Let us be wise enough to suppose that we have had a happy dream, and not to complain of destiny. For never did so beautiful a dream last for so long. Let us be proud of the consciousness that for 3 months we gave one another the most perfect felicity. Few human beings can boast of so much. Let us swear never to forget one another, and to often remember the happy hours of our love. Do not make any inquiries about me. And if chance should let you know who I am, forget it forever. I do not know who you are, but I feel certain that nobody in this world knows you as well as I do.
I will always remember her. I recall now, even 40 years later, the last morning I spent with her. I had admired her lovely face, sleeping. All I knew of her came back to mind. The words that had been spoken by her bewitching mouth, her rare talent, her candor, her feelings so full of delicacy, her misfortunes, everything had strengthened my resolution to make her the companion of my destiny, whatever it might be.
I shall not have another lover as long as I live. But I do not wish you to imitate me. Au contraire, I hope that you will love again. And I trust that a good fairy will bring along your path another Henriette. Farewell. Farewell.
I was determined to give our union the sanction of religion and law, and to take her legally to be my wife. But alas, life has many cruelties, and that is the death of love.
The death of love. He had no commitment to love. You talk of religion and law. What religion was he following when he became a Freemason? What law was he obeying when he organized an abortion for Justiana Wynne? Love. The only love he had was for Bragadine's money. Where was his love of God? The arrogance, the blasphemy. When he despoiled nuns, not one, but two, in God's own house.
Yes, and the church that fostered those nuns was complicit. And wanton in his fornications, lest you forget.
No.
And indulge me this! How does the church absolve itself of its lust in the house of God?
How dare you!
How dare I what? Acknowledge the truth! Or do you believe silence can be bought?
That's enough.
What is enough?
There are more letters of exchange, but this time they are from a young officer asking Casanova for a loan. He even offers his own mistress to encourage the deal.
The scoundrel didn't mention his letters of exchange again. And as he saw I was no longer interested in his mistress, but was in love with his sister, formed the excellent project of selling her to me.
Certainly was a scoundrel.
I'm boarding in a convent, and I'm very well treated. And I enjoy excellent health in spite of the anxiety of my mind. The superior has been instructed to forbid me all visitors and correspondence. I entertain no doubt of your good faith, my beloved husband, and I feel sure that you will never doubt a heart which is wholly yours. Trust to me for the execution of whatever you may wish me to do, for I am yours and only yours.
But I did not have the strength to resist the temptation. And I even went so far as to persuade myself that, as I was in love with her, it was my duty to accept the offer, to protect her from further snares. For if I had not accepted the offer, her brother might have offered her to some other man. And I could not stand that idea.
No, we are happy, for we can see each other every night without restraint. It is my most ardent wish, and to realize it, I am ready to do anything.
A noble intention.
I felt that in my company, our innocence ran no risk.
Caterina's innocence nor the innocence of another, for it would seem that he had caught the attentions of another nun, known only as M.M., who had developed a rather close relationship with Caterina. Is it so unexpected that the church had become upset?
I trust that our intimacy will be as tender as sincere, and that we shall know how to have a mutual indulgence for our faults.
Can such an angel as you have any?
But if I happen to take possession of her place in your heart,
All I possess belongs to the woman I love. Good evening, my two divinities. Your bosom must have become perfect in the last 9 months.
It is like mine. Would you like to see it for yourself?
Of course I did not refuse. M.M. unlaced her friend, who made no resistance, and performing afterwards the same office upon herself. In less than 2 minutes, I was admiring 4 rivals contending for the golden apple like the 3 goddesses, and which would have set at defiance the handsome Paris himself to adjudge the prize without injustice. Need I say what an ardent fire that ravishing sight sent coursing through my veins? I showed them the Académie des Dames, and pointed out a certain position to M.M., who, understanding my wishes, said to Katerina,
Would you, darling, represent that group with me?
At first satisfied with enjoying the sight of the barren contest of my 2 bacchanalians, I was amused by their efforts, but soon excited myself and consumed by all the fire of voluptuousness, I threw myself upon them, and I made them, one after the other, almost faint away with the excess of love and enjoyment.
Vows, truth, and passion. Each has a life of its own. Do you believe God had a purpose in Casanova? I mean, was there a reason? You don't have to like it. It happened.
Well, England is different in every respect from the rest of Europe. Even the country is a different aspect. And the water of the Thames has a taste peculiar to itself. Everything has its own characteristic, and the fish, cattle, horses, men, and women are of a type not found in any other land.
I had some difficulty when I first arrived at Dover.
Well, English customs officers are rude. Our French counterparts are much more polite. However, the island of England, it's of a different color than anything you will find on the continent. I had come here to interest the British establishment in a state lottery. The Duke of Bedford had kindly given me an introduction to Madame Cornley. That evening I met the cream of London society. Mrs. Cornley, however, refused to invite me to her bed. The Duke advised me to advertise for a young lady after I rented a house, which I duly did, in Pall Mall.
So he actually advertised for a single young lady to rent a room to seduce?
And then to abandon. However, he met his match in Chapillon.
Where's Chapillon?
Not aware. Who? Anne-Marie Le Chapillon.
The name Chapillon reminded me that I was the bearer of a letter for her, and drawing it from my pocketbook, I gave it to her, saying that the document ought to cement our acquaintance. The Chapillon, who was well known in London, and I believe is still alive, was one of those beauties in whom it is difficult to find any positive fault. Her hair was chestnut-colored, and astonishingly long and thick. Her eyes were at once languorous and brilliant. Her features were of that exquisite sensibility which gives so much charm to the fair sex. But nature had given her a beautiful body and a deformed soul. This siren had formed a design to wreck my happiness even before she knew me, and as if to add to her triumph, she told me as much.
Come and dine with us tomorrow.
I cannot do so. I'm expecting Lord Pembroke to dinner.
Will you be alone?
Expect so?
I am glad to hear it. You will see my aunt and myself appearing on the scene.
Oh, well, let me give you my address. I should be delighted if you'll come and join us.
Ask my aunt if I may take some rooms in your house.
Why? Do you want to lodge cheaply?
I don't want to lodge cheaply, but I should like to punish the audacious author of that notice.
How would you punish me?
by making you fall in love with me, and then tormenting you. It would have amused me immensely.
Then you think you can inspire me with love, and at the same time form the dreadful plan of tyrannizing over the victim of your charms. Such a plan is monstrous, and unhappily for us men, you do not look like a monster. Nevertheless, I'm obliged to you for your frankness, and will be on my guard.
Then you must take care never to see me, or else all your efforts will be in vain.
As the Sharpion had laughed merrily through the whole of this dialogue, I took it all as a jest, but I could not help admiring her manner, which seemed made for the subjugation of men. But though I knew it not, the day I made that woman's acquaintance was a luckless one for me. As my readers will see, it was towards the end of the month of September 1763 when I met the Sharpion, and from that day I began to die.
And who, pray tell, shall be joining us?
Well, you're going to like this. La Sharpion and her aunt.
Really? I once took a violent fancy for the little hussy. It was one evening when I was at Vauxhall, and I offered her 20 guineas to come with me on a little walk in a dark alley. She said she would if I paid the money in advance, which I was fool enough to do. She went with me, and as soon as we were alone, she ran away. I could not catch her again, though I searched the whole evening through.
You should have boxed her ears before everybody.
No, I should have got into trouble, and people would have laughed at me besides. I preferred to despise her, and the money too. You in love with her?
No, but I am curious, as were you.
Take care. She will do all in her power to entrap you.
I look forward to her trying.
And so, my friend, do I.
She came in and went up to my lord with the most perfect coolness and began to chatter away to him without taking any notice of me. She laughed, joked, and reproached him for not having pursued her in Vauxhall. Her stratagem, she said, was only meant to excite him the more.
Another time, I shall not escape you.
Perhaps not, my dear. For another time, I shall be careful not to pay you in advance.
Oh, fie. You degrade yourself by talking about paying.
Oh, I suppose I honor you.
We never talk of such things.
Lord Pembroke laughed at her impertinence while she made a vigorous assault on him, for his coolness and indifference piqued her. She left us soon after dinner, making me promise to dine with her the day after next. On the day appointed, my evil destiny made me go to the Sharpions. The girl introduced me to her mother, whom I at once recollected, although she had aged and altered since I had seen her. In the year 1759, a Genevan named Belome had persuaded me to sell her jewels to the extent of 6,000 francs, and she had paid me in bills drawn by her and her two sisters on this Belome. But they were then known as Arnsberger. The Genevan became bankrupt before the bills were due, and the three sisters disappeared.
I am delighted to see you again.
I recollect you, sir, that rogue Bolam.
Please, we will discuss that subject another time.
My daughter did not tell me your proper name.
Yes, she did. My name is Sengal as well as Casanova. I was known by the latter name at Paris when I first made your daughter's acquaintance. Although I didn't know at the time that she was your daughter.
I was fascinated. I thought I would be on my guard and be safe, and as I only wanted the daughter, I looked on all else as of a little moment. The only thing which annoyed me was that the Sharpion, after apologizing for having made me sit down to such a poor dinner, invited herself and all the company to sup with me on any day I liked to mention. All the same, I had the strength of mind to refrain from seeing her for 2 days, and on the third, which was the day appointed for the cursed supper, she and her aunt paid me a call at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I have come to breakfast with you, and to discuss a certain question.
Will you tell me your business now or after breakfast?
After breakfast, for we must be alone.
Now, What was this business you had to talk about?
It was about my aunt needing her money.
Yes, so how much money are we talking about?
100 guineas, sir.
What would she do with the money?
She would make the balm of life, of which she possesses a secret.
Well, I will give you a decided answer after supper.
Farewell. Till this evening.
I saw that I should get nothing out of her without spending 100 guineas, and I determined not to attempt to bargain. But I would let her understand that she must make up her mind not to play prude. The game was in my hands, and all I had to do was to take care not to be duped.
It seems to me you don't seem very anxious to hear my reply.
You have made up your mind, I suppose.
I have. The 100 guineas are at your disposal.
Then please to give the money to my aunt. Otherwise, people might think I got it from you by some improper means.
I will do so.
You will get nothing from me, either by money or violence. But you can hope for all when I find you really nice and quiet.
As documents have to be executed, it might take some time.
Won't you fix the time?
The time depends entirely on you.
When my hateful guests were gone, I began to reflect and came to the conclusion that the young adventuress had determined to plunder me without giving me anything in return. I determined to have nothing more to do with her. But I could not get her beauty out of my mind. In less than 3 weeks, I congratulated myself on having forgotten the Charpion and on having replaced her by innocent amours. Such was my condition when, one morning, the favorite aunt of the Charpion paid me a call and said that they were all mystified at not having seen me since the supper I had given them, especially herself, as her niece had given her to understand that I would furnish her with the means of making the balm of life.
Certainly. I would have gladly given you your 100 guineas if your niece had treated me as a friend. But she refused me favours a Vestal might have granted, and you must know she is by no means a Vestal.
Don't mind my laughing. My niece is an innocent, giddy girl. She loves you. But she's afraid you have only a passing whim for her. She's in bed now with a bad cold. And if you will come and see her, I'm sure you will be satisfied.
These artful remarks, which had no doubt been prepared in advance, ought to have aroused all my scorn, but instead of that, they awakened the most violent desires.
When would be the best time to call?
Come now. Give one knock.
Very good. You may expect me shortly.
I congratulated myself on being on the verge of success. For after the explanation I'd had with the aunt, and having, as I thought, a friend in her, I did not doubt that I should succeed. I put on my greatcoat, and in less than a quarter of an hour, I knocked on their door.
Come back in quarter of an hour. She's been ordered a bath, is just going to take it.
This is another imposture. You're as bad a liar as she is.
You're cruel and unjust. And if you will promise to be discreet, I'll take you up to the 3rd floor where she's bathing.
Very good. Take me.
She went upstairs, I following on tiptoe. She pushed me into a room and shut the door upon me. The Charpion was in a huge bath, with her head towards the door, and the infernal coquette, pretending to think it was her aunt, did not move and said,
Give me the towels, Aunt.
She was in the most seductive posture, and I had the pleasure of gazing on her exquisite proportions.
Be gone!
You needn't exert your voice. I'm not going to be duped.
Be gone!
No. Give me a minute to collect myself.
My aunt shall pay dearly for this.
She will find me her friend. I won't touch you. So show me a little more of your charms.
More of my charms?
Yes. Put yourself as you were when I came in.
Certainly not! Leave the room!
I've told you I'm not going. And that you needn't fear for your virginity, we will say.
She then showed me a picture more seductive than the first, and pretending kindliness said,
Please leave me. I will not fail to show my gratitude.
Seeing that she got nothing, that I refrained from touching her, and that the fire she had kindled was in a fair way to being put out, she turned her back to me to give me to understand that it was no pleasure to her to look at me. However, my passions were running high, and I had to have recourse to self-abuse to calm my senses. I was glad to find myself relieved, as this proved to me that the desire went no deeper than the senses. The aunt came in just as I had finished, and I went out without a word, well pleased to find myself despising a character wherein profit and loss usurped the place of feeling. The aunt came to me as I was going out the house and inquired if I were satisfied.
Sir, is it a fact that you told my mother that you would give 100 guineas to spend the night with me?
No, not to spend the night with you, but after I'd passed it. Isn't the price enough?
No jesting, sir, if you please. There's no question of bargaining. All I want to know is whether you think you have a right to insult me, and that I'm going to bear it.
If you think yourself insulted, I may perhaps confess I was wrong, but I did not think I should have to listen to any reproaches from you. I could not address you directly, as I know your art only too well.
I shall not pay any attention to your abuse of myself. I will only remind you of what I said. That neither money nor violence were of any use, and that your only way was to make me in love with you by gentle means. Show me where I have broken my word. It is you that have forsworn yourself in coming into my bathroom and in sending such a brutal message to my mother.
No, you needn't bother to weep. I knew the source of those tears. It is defiled.
You know nothing of it. I love you, and it is hard to have you treat me so.
You love me? You have not taken the best way to prove it.
As good as way as yours. You have behaved to me as if I were the vilest of prostitutes, and yesterday you seemed to think I was a brute beast, the slave of my mother. You should have written to me in person, and without the intervention of so vile an agent, I should have replied in the same way. And you need not have been afraid that you would be deceived.
Supposing I had written, what would your answer have been?
I should have put all money matters out of question. I should have promised to content you on the condition that you would come and court me for a fortnight without demanding the slightest favor. We should have lived a pleasant life. We should have gone to the theater and to the parks. I should have become madly in love with you. Then I should have given myself up to you for love, and nothing but love. I am ashamed to say that hitherto I have only given myself out of mere complacence. Unhappy woman that I am. But I think nature meant me to love. And I thought when I saw you that my happy star had sent you to England that I might know the bliss of true affection. Instead of this, you have only made me unhappy. You are the first man that has seen me weep. You have troubled my peace at home, for my mother shall never have the sum you promised her, but for nothing but a kiss.
I am sorry to have injured you, though I did not intend to do so. Only I don't know what I can do.
Come and see us, and keep your money, which I despise. If if you love me, come and conquer me like a reasonable and not a brutal lover. And that will help you. For now, you cannot doubt that I love you.
That very evening I began my visits, and judged from my welcome that my triumph was nigh at hand. But love fills our minds with idle visions and draws a veil over the truth. The fortnight went by without my even kissing her hand. And every time I came, I brought some expensive gift which seemed cheap to me when I obtained such smiles of gratitude in exchange. Besides these presents, not a day passed without some excursion to the country or party at the theatre. That fortnight cost me 400 guineas, at least.
Please excuse me if this question is rather pertinent, but will Charpillon be spending the night with me here or at my house?
We will settle this matter after supper, if that is an agreement with you.
I made no objection, not liking to tell her that in my house the supper would be more succulent and a better prelude for the kind of exercise I expected to enjoy. But I was astonished when the mother asked me if I would like to pay the 100 guineas in advance. Exclaimed the girl, and her mother left the room. My amorous feelings, so long pent up within my breast, would soon find relief.
Wait for me in bed.
She put out the candles. I complained of this act of hers, but she said she could not sleep with the light shining on her. I began to suspect that I might have some difficulties thrown in my way to sharpen the pleasure, but I determined to be resigned and to overcome them all. When I felt her in bed, I tried to clasp her in my arms, but found that she had wrapped herself up in a long nightgown. Her arms were crossed and her head buried in her chest. I entreated, scolded, cursed, but all in vain. She let me go on and answered not a word. At first I thought it was a joke, but I soon found out my mistake. The veil fell from my eyes, and I saw myself in my true colors, the degraded dupe of a vile prostitute. I was utterly depressed. She was so irritable with me, but I decided that I wanted to give up the girl, demanding my money back. But I could not sleep. I loved her, or was it desire? Love turned to lust. I wanted to kill myself. I had a plan to put balls of lead in my coat pockets and throw myself off a bridge.
One sin he could have been forgiven.
I assume he didn't go through with it.
No.
That night on his way home, he was apprehended. Put under house arrest.
Really?
We stopped before the house, and I was placed in a large room on the ground floor, furnished solely with benches and long tables. My servant sent back the carriage and came to keep me company. The 6 constables said that he could not leave and told me that I should send out for some meat and drink for them. I told my servant to give them what they wanted and to be as amicable with them as possible.
You were very generous to your keepers.
Indeed. I had not committed a crime. I was quite at ease. I knew that my arrest must be the effect of a slander. And as I was aware that London justice was speedy and equitable, I thought I should soon be free.
A long and tedious night.
I amused myself by reflecting on my rapid passage from a numerous and exalted position to the vile place I now occupied, though I was still dressed like a prince. At last the day dawned, and the keeper of the tavern came to see who the prisoner was. I could not help but laugh, for when he saw me, he began to curse the constables for not waking him when I came. He had lost the guinea I should have paid for a private room. At last news was brought that the magistrate was sitting, and I must be brought up.
Still in your finery?
Exactly. A coach was summoned, and I got into it. For if I had dared to walk along the streets in my magnificent attire, the mob would have pelted me. I went into the halls of justice, and all the eyes were at once attracted to me. My silks and my satins appeared to them as the height of impertinence. At the end of the room, I saw a gentleman sitting in an armchair and concluded him to be my judge. I was right, and the judge was blind. He wore a broad band around his head, passing over his eyes.
Signor Casanova, be kind enough to step forward. I wish to speak with you.
Eccomi, signore.
Signor de Casanova of Venice, you are condemned to perpetual confinement in the prisons of His Majesty the King of Great Britain.
I should like to know, sir, for what crime I'm condemned.
Your demand is a reasonable one. For with us, no one is condemned without knowing the cause of his condemnation. You must know, then, that the accusation charges you with intending to do grievous bodily harm to the person of a pretty girl. And as this pretty girl aforesaid goes in dread of you, the law decrees that you must be kept in prison for the rest of your days.
This accusation is a groundless calumny. To that I will take my oath. It is very possible indeed the young girl may fear my vengeance when she comes to consider her own conduct. But I can assure you I have had no such designs hitherto, and I don't think I ever shall.
She has 2 witnesses.
Then they are false ones. May I ask your worship the name of my accuser?
Miss Chapignon.
I thought as much. Sir, I have never given her aught but proofs of my affection.
Then you have no wish to do her bodily harm?
Certainly not.
Well, then I congratulate you. You can dine at home. But you must find 2 sureties. I must have an assurance from the mouths of 2 householders that you will never commit such a crime.
Who shall I find to do so?
2 well-known Englishmen, whose friendship you have gained, and who know you are incapable of such an action. Send for them, and if they arrive before I go to dinner, I will set you at liberty.
Grazie, signore.
The constable took me back to prison where I passed the night. And I gave my servants the addresses of all the household I recollected, bidding them explain my situation, and to be as quick as possible. They ought to have come before noon, but London is such a large place. They did not arrive, and the magistrate went to dinner. I comforted myself with the thought that he would sit in the afternoon, but I had to put up with a very disagreeable experience.
Newgate Prison. Could a gentleman not bribe his way out?
Normally. If the constable had not been in the pay of Chapignon.
Ugh. So what did he do?
It's all there.
How much will he want? The interpreter took the constable aside and told me that I could stay where I was for 10 guineas. Then say I should like to see Newgate.
Newgate?
Newgate. A coach was summoned and I was taken away. When I got to this abode of misery and despair, a hell such as Dante might have conceived, a crowd of wretches, some of whom were to be hanged within the week, greeted me by deriding my elegant attire. I did not answer them, and they began to get angry. The jailer quietened them, saying I was a foreigner and did not understand English. And then he took me to a cell, informing me how much it would cost me and of the prison rules, as if he felt certain that I would be there for a very, very long stay.
Signor Casanova, please to sign your name for double the amount, and you will then be a free man again.
At last, after one of the most tedious days I have ever spent, I returned home and I went to bed laughing at the experience I'd undergone.
A lucky escape.
Indeed. A few days afterwards, as I was walking and idling about, I passed a place called Parrot Market.
Parrot Market?
Parrot Market. And as I was amusing myself by looking at these curious birds, I saw a fine young one in a cage. And I asked what language it spoke. Italian, French, whatever. And they told me it was quite young and did not speak at all, yet. So I bought it for 10 guineas. I thought I would teach the bird a pretty speech, so I had the cage hung by my bed and repeated dozens of times every day the following sentence. Champignon is a bigger whore than her mother. Champignon is a bigger whore than her mother. Champignon is a bigger whore than her mother. Champignon is a bigger whore than her mother.
So, he left London and went to Warsaw.
I must tell you of an event which took place toward the end of January. It was in fact a dream. And as I think I've confessed to you before, superstition has always had some hold on me.
Yes.
Well, I dreamt I was at a banquet, and one of the guests threw a bottle at my face. The blood poured forth, and I ran my sword through the enemy, and jumped into a carriage and rode away. The very next night, Prince Charles of Courland came to Warsaw and asked me to dine with him at Prince Paninsky's, the same that was so notorious and was afterwards proscribed and shamefully dishonored.
Yes.
His was a hospitable house, and he was surrounded by an agreeable family. I'd never called on him before because he was a persona non grata to the king and his relations. But in the course of the dinner, a bottle of champagne burst, and a piece of broken glass struck me just below the eye. It cut a vein, the blood gushed forth, over my face, over the clothes, even over the cloth.
Good heavens.
Everybody rose, my wound was bound up, the cloth was changed, and the dinner went on merrily. But I was struck between the similarity of that and my dream. Although I was happy about the differences, I didn't have to kill anybody, but all those events came to pass just 1 month later.
Absolutely divine.
Thank you.
Just as I embraced her, who should enter but Brunitsky, whom I had left a moment before with Madame Binetti. He had clearly followed me in the hopes of picking a quarrel.
Seems to me I've come at a bad time. Looks as if you love this lady.
Certainly, my lord. Thinks not your excellency her as worthy of love?
Oh, quite so. As it happens, I love her too. And I'm not the man to bear any rivals.
As I know that, I shall love her no more.
Then you give her up?
With all my heart. For everyone must yield to one as noble as you are.
Very good. I call a man that yields a coward.
Isn't that a rather strong expression?
You Venetian coward.
Perhaps a Venetian coward might kill a brave Pole outside the theatre.
Without awaiting a reply, I left the building by the chief staircase. I waited vainly outside the theatre for a quarter of an hour with my sword in my hand. At last, half perishing with cold, I called my carriage and drove to the Palatines, where the king was to sup.
Don't worry, I'm not come to assassinate you, merely to say I accept your proposal, on condition only that the duel must take place today. If not today, never.
That is out of the question. I have letters to write and I have business to do for the king.
That will do afterwards. In all probability, you won't fall, and if you do, I'm sure the king will forgive you. Besides, a dead man need fear no reproaches.
But why should your excellency not wait until tomorrow?
Because I don't want to be caught.
You have nothing of the kind to fear from me.
I dare say. But if we don't make haste, the king will have us both arrested.
How can he? Unless you have told him of our quarrel.
You don't understand. Look, I'm quite willing to give you satisfaction, but it must be today or never.
Very well. This duel is too dear to my heart for me to allow you any pretext for avoiding it. Does your excellency intend on spending the spring in Warsaw?
I had thought of doing so. You may possibly send me to pass the spring somewhere else.
Oh, I hope not.
Have you seen any military service?
Yes. Why do you ask?
No particular reason. It was only for the sake of saying something.
We had driven about half an hour when the carriage stopped at the door of a large garden. We got down and, following the postoli, reached a green arbor.
Choose your weapon, sir.
Is this a duel, sir?
Yes.
You cannot fight here, sir. You are within the ban.
No matter.
It does matter. And I, at all events, refuse to be a witness. I'm on guard at the castle. You have taken me by surprise.
Be quiet. I will answer for everything. I owe this gentleman satisfaction, and I mean to give it him here.
Mr. Casanova, you may not fight here.
Then why have I been brought here? I will defend myself wherever I'm attacked.
Put the matter before the king, and you shall have my voice in your favor.
I'm quite willing to do so, General. If His Excellency will say he regrets what passed between us last night.
I came to fight, not parley.
General, you can bear witness that I have done everything in my power to avoid this duel.
I swear upon my honor your weapon is a good one.
Then I will try its goodness on your head. Fire, sir.
I was not in a position to let him kill me at his ease, so I suddenly aimed and fired on him, just as he fired on me.
Scoundrels! Have some respect for a man of honor. You have killed me, so make haste away, as you are in danger of the gibbet. The duel was fought within the ban, and I am a High Court officer and a Knight of the White Eagle, so lose no time. And if you have not enough money, take mine.
Thanks, it will be useless to me. If I'm guilty, I'm content to lose my head. I hope your wound will not be mortal. I'm deeply grieved that you're having obliged me to fight.
The ball had pierced my hand by the metacarpus under the index finger and had broken the first phalanges. Its force had been arrested by a metal button on my waistcoat, and it had only inflicted a slight wound on my stomach, close to the navel.
He was lucky.
He was lucky Brunitsky survived.
No sympathy should be given to this wretch. Thank God his reputation caught up with him. He was banished from Poland, and no other country would have him. Not England, Russia, Venice.
So where could he go?
Spain.
Oh, yes, Spain. The home of his grandparents. But on the way, he must have gone to Spa, where he met his old friend, Antonia della Croce, who was with a girl, this Charlotte.
He made her pass for his wife because, as he said, he meant to marry her eventually. But here let me say how vain a thing it is for anyone to pronounce a man or woman to be happy or unhappy from a merely cursory inspection. Croce was desperately trying to make his fortunes at the table. He lost everything.
My friend, I have two alternatives. I could kill myself this instant, or I could fly without returning to the house. I will embrace the latter, and I will go to Warsaw on foot. And I leave my wife in your hands, for I know you adore her. It must be your task to give her the dreadful news of the past to which I have come. Have a care of her. She is too good by far for a poor wretch like me. Take her to Paris, and I'll write to you there at your brother's address. I know you have money, but I would rather die than accept a single louis from you. I have still 2 or 3 pieces left, and I can assure you that I am richer now at this present moment than I was 2 months ago. Farewell. Once more, I commend Charlotte into your care. I would that she had never known me.
With these words, he shed tears and embracing me went his way. I was stupefied at what lay before me. I had to inform a pregnant woman that the man she dearly loved had deserted her. The only thought that supported me in that moment was that it would be done for love of her, and I felt thankful that I had sufficient means to secure her from privation. I disguised my emotions so well that she conceived no suspicion.
There's something I need to ask you.
To prepare her for the fatal news, I asked her if she would approve of her lover exposing himself to assassination for the sake of bidding adieu to her, rather than making his escape.
I should blame him for doing so. He ought to escape by all means, if only to save his life for my sake. Has my husband done so? Oh, speak openly to me. My spirit is strong enough to resist even so fatal a blow, for I know I have a friend in you. Speak.
I will tell you all, but first you must remember this. You must look on me as a tender father who would never leave you wanting, as long as life remains to him.
If that is the case, then I cannot be called unfortunate, for I have a true friend. Say on.
He played the tables, and he lost everything.
I told her all that Croce had told me, not omitting his last words. I commend Charlotte to your care. I would that she had never known me. For a few minutes she remained motionless, as one turned to stone. By her attitude, by her labored and unequal breath, I could divine somewhat of the battle between love and anger and sorrow and pity that was raging in the noble breast. I was cut to the heart. At last she wiped away the big tears that began to trickle down her cheeks, and turning to me, sighed.
Dear friend, since I can count on you, I am far indeed from utter misery.
I swear to you, Charlotte, I will never leave you until I have placed you again in your husband's hands, provided I do not die before.
That is enough. I swear eternal gratitude, and to be as submissive to you as a good daughter ought to be.
We sat together for hours, she folded in my arms, whilst I gently kissed her beautiful eyes and asked no more. I was happy in her gratitude and in my powers of self-restraint. We left Spa without any servant, and when we reached Liège, we took the way of the Ardennes, as she was afraid of being recognized if we passed through Brussels. At Luxembourg, we engaged a servant who attended on us until we reached Paris. All the way, Charlotte was tender and affectionate, but her condition prescribed limits to her love, and I could only look forward to the time after her delivery. We got down at Paris at the Hotel Montmorency, in the street of the same name. Paris struck me as quite a new place. Madame Duff was dead. My friends had changed their houses and their fortunes. The poor had become rich and the rich poor. New streets and buildings were rising on all sides. I hardly knew my way around the town. Everything was dearer, poverty was rampant, and luxury at its highest pitch. Perhaps Paris is the only city where so great a change could have taken place in the course of 5 or 6 years. On October 8th, I thought it would be well to take her to Madame Lemar, a midwife who lived in the Faubourg Saint-Denis. At nightfall, we drove to the place with a trunk containing all her effects. As we were leaving the Rue Montmorency, our carriage was obliged to stop to allow the funeral of some rich man to go by.
Dearest, I know it is a foolish superstition, but for a woman in my condition, such a meeting is of evil omen.
What? Charlotte, I thought you were too wise for such silly fears. A woman in childbed is not a sick woman. And no woman ever died giving birth except some other disease intervened.
Yes. My dear philosopher, it is like a duel. There are two men in perfect health, when all of a sudden there comes a sword thrust, and one of them is dead.
That's a witty idea, but bid all gloomy thoughts go by. When your child is born, and we have placed him in safe hands, you will come with me to Madrid, and I will see you happy and contented.
All the way I did my best to cheer her, for I knew only too well the fatal effects of melancholy on a pregnant woman, especially in such a delicate girl as Charlotte. On the 17th, she was happily delivered of a boy. Charlotte wrote down what its name was to be: Jacques after me, Charles after her, son of Antonio della Croce, and of Charlotte. She gave her real name. On October 13th, Charlotte was attacked with a fever which never left her. The tears which gather fast as I write these words are probably the last honors I shall pay to this poor victim of a man who is still alive, and whose destiny seemed to be to make women unhappy. I sat weeping by the bed of her I loved so dearly, and in vain Madame Lamar tried to induce me to come and sit with her. I loved the poor corpse better than all the world outside.
I hope the more selfless aspects of Casanova are becoming apparent.
I'm sure your grace is willing to reconsider the virtues of this man.
My son, it is not for me to judge. That is God's duty. I am merely here to advise on his behalf.
Bring him down. Let him speak for himself.
I am indebted to you for my life. I will treat you as my own child until my death. And you may be certain of always finding me your friend.
He could not leave me anything, as his property was entailed. And while his furniture and his library would become the prey of his creditors, his two friends, who were my friends, also were poor and could give me nothing but their love. The dreadful news was accompanied by a bill of exchange for 1,000 crowns, which he had sent me 24 hours before his death, foreseeing that it would be the last gift he would ever make to me.
Your Grace, was this man really so villainous?
This man procured the abortion of an unborn child.
No, he did not.
The sin is in the intent.
Your Grace, this is fascinating. Surely we should, at least in part, consider publication.
Not one word. Not one sentence.
Your Grace,
Consider this. How will you survive without the patronage of the Church?
I'm sorry.
What are you saying?
I had just accomplished the carnal act with a young girl who flattered me, She loved it. And in order to convince me, she would not accept the florin.
I don't believe a word of it. You're just as old as I am.
I do not lie. Take a look at the instrument. That shows you.
What you show me there is monstrous.
But it makes things clear.
Who was that girl who refused the florin?
I will not tell you. But from you, she would accept the money.
Why from me and not from you?
Because you would not give her any pleasure.
How can you respect this man?
It's not a matter of respect, is it? What I find relevant here is a lack of respect for the man's right to express himself. Shed some light in the dark. Hey, who are you in this room, anyway? The devil's advocate? What's the standard you set for the future? I'll tell you. Tyranny. Because what's happening here is the will to crush any voice, any time, in any place. What the hell, do you think I care what Casanova said? I don't care what he said, what he did, or who he did it with. I want a choice. Do you understand? And what I can and cannot read is not to be decided by you, or him, or anyone else. You know, you could have made a name for yourself with this book, you idiot. You couldn't sell a Bible to a priest.
I hate old age. It offers only what I already know. Age has calmed my passions by rendering them powerless. But my heart has not grown old. My memory has kept all the freshness of youth. No. I have not forgotten Henriette.
Hear my prayer, O Lord, and let my cry come unto thee. Hide not thy face from me in the day of my distress. Incline thy ear unto me. In the day when I call, answer me speedily. For my days consume away like smoke. And as a firebrand. My heart is smitten like
Please take care of my letter. Preserve them. They are my life. My memoirs. Almighty God. Witness my death. I have lived. Almighty God, as a philosopher. Witness my death, lived as a philosopher. Almighty God, when I die, a Christian. A Christian.
My heart is smitten like grass and withered, for I get to eat my bread. By reason of voice of my groaning, my bones cleave to my flesh. I am like a purple